you doing there? This is Matthew McConaughey, and you are listening to the Court Case Podcast. All right, all right, all right.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Court Case Podcast with me, your host, Sweet Tea.
And me, James Court.
And today I'm doing the intro, and we're talking all things Halloween. We got
spooky encounters.
We've got
unsolved murders.
And
Halloween fun.
Hey!
Whoop, whoop.
It's all happening on this Halloween special of Court Case.
Absolutely.
Right after this. Happy Saturday, everybody, and I hope you're all ready for a great Halloween weekend.
I am. Are you?
Yeah, we've got you can't see them.
You can on
the
TikTok,
audio
though.
podcast, but if you go on TikTok, you'll be able to
You've
see.
got a little video. You've had a bit of a hiatus. That's the word off
video
TikTok.
footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to be putting them on Instagram as well. But anyway, we're getting away from the point.
Yes.
If you go on Instagram and TikTok, you can see we are wearing our costumes while we record the podcast currently, and we are wearing the Squid Game tracksuits.
Hell
they wore
yeah.
In the highly acclaimed show that we talked about last week.
We've had some comments already. Oh, you're a bit casual this year. Well, casual but fun is what I say.
I'm not going to lie, these are really bloody comfy.
They're so comfortable.
And I think after Halloween, I'm just going to wear them around the house. Just
Yeah.
when I'm chilling, playing some games.
And I think sometimes it's nice to
games.
not go all out. I'm not much of a Halloween fan. Not like I hate Halloween, but I never, like, when it comes to October and all my friends are like, oh, what are you going to wear for Halloween? Oh, I'm going to better start looking. I have no interest until, like, the week before. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'll put something together. And I normally just end up going as a fucking black cat or something.
This is where you and me differ. One, that is my least favourite costume ever. It's the most
I've never
low
gone
effort,
as a black cat,
and
but
I
you know what I
hate
mean.
it.
Yeah.
It's just people that don't like Halloween.
Low
dress as
effort? Have you
cat.
seen what we're wearing?
Yeah, but I had to spend like an hour finding the right ones that are good colours, and I had to order them, and they had to come. For just getting some cat ears from Tesco,
I
just
just said I haven't actually gone as a cat, but something easy like that I normally go for because I don't care, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, I know people going as cats this year, and I just want to say it's really low effort, and stop it. Okay.
But cats is very like a witch cat. That's much
Go
more
as the
Halloween.
witch.
That's much more Halloween than Squid Game tracksuits.
The first episode really scared me, so it is a scary show with a lot of violence. Okay.
Yeah, I never said it
murder
wasn't
in
scary.
And if you're going to go as a witch's cat, just go as the witch.
James, just get to your actual point.
I don't know what my point was.
You were going to go off. You were talking about. You got sidetracked.
But anyway, yeah, that's what we were dressed as. I'm loving it. I'm the main guy's number 456,
and I'm
you
the main
are
girl 67.
the girl. I'm not going to spoil the show. I was going to say a spoiler then, but I'm not going to, just in case people haven't watched it.
If you haven't watched it yet, then what the fuck are you doing?
But we got some cool stuff we're going to talk about today. I wanted to talk about my real encounter with a ghost that I've had.
What?
Yeah.
When?
Oh, I've told you this many, many times at the cinema.
Oh, he loves this story. You told this story on the podcast before when we were talking about our old job.
No way.
Yes, you have. Insert clip here.
I don't have the time to go through all of the past episodes. Well,
Unless I find it.
No, I'll tell it again.
He's going to tell it again, guys.
It's probably been quite a few episodes.
Yeah, he's going to tell it again. All right, guys. Strap yourself in.
Real story with a ghost, so that's coming up. And then I've also found some interesting unsolved murders, unsolved mysteries, just general spooky things.
Absolutely.
That we could talk about. But the first thing I sort of wanted to talk about is that we did a poll on
We did do a poll.
the Instagram story.
We also, at the moment, on our Instagram, every Thursday, we're doing like a Would You Rather. And we're getting a lot of interaction on the comments and people saying their opinions on the matter, etc., which is fantastic, which is what we want. It's great, We did a really good one the first week about would you rather have no eyebrows or no teeth? Yeah. And everyone seemed, except from bar one, everyone said no eyebrows because obviously you can get them tattooed, you can draw them on, everything like that, which made sense. It was an easy one to start off with. But this week, we posted a Halloween one, and it's would you rather stay in and watch Halloween movies or go out and dress up? I think majority of the people said that they'd rather stay in and watch Halloween movies.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I am with them because it's fucking cold this time of year, and there's nothing different about going out at Halloween than going out normally, except from people are dressed up.
I'm just going to go back and say that Maddie from the south of England is the only person that said teeth. Said lose all my teeth.
Yeah.
I think that's very strange.
Well, she'll get veneers, isn't she?
Is that what they're called? Veneers? Is
Yeah.
that what fake teeth are called?
Yeah.
My dad had to get some of those.
Did he?
Veneers, yeah.
It's tempting,
Yeah,
I'm not
so
going
the
to lie.
Thursday thoughts. Yeah, you and me are completely divided on this
We are.
one, which is a fairly new court case thing, because normally we agree. And Megan from work, from the other podcast that I do, The Search for the Soulful Leader, which I did host last week. So
And
if
he
anyone
just
wants to check it
plugged.
out, she says that you and me need to disagree more on the podcast.
Oh,
which
really?
We did disagree just now. We had a little bit of an argument, didn't we? But
Yeah, kind of.
she thinks we need to disagree.
I think when it
more.
comes to Halloween, we are polar opposites.
Yeah, because I love going out, and now I get to go out on dressed up as well, which I love dressing up,
Yeah,
which is really good. So,
I get it, but
Yeah.
not for me.
but
Not for me at
some
all.
of the comments. So it was, would you rather?
I've already explained which one it is. Go
Dress
out
up
for Halloween or watch a scary
stay in.
movie. And I
Yeah.
already said that a majority of the people said they'd rather watch a scary movie. So I don't know where you've been, hun.
No, we got someone said, "Can I do both?"
Yeah.
And someone,
But the
Megan from work said, both dress up and stay in. So dressing up is still a big part of it. Yeah, well, you are right.
I was going to say, the majority want to stay in. That's what I'm telling you.
Me and our cynical culture are the only people that said out, hit the town, out and about.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But-
And we forgot to reply to you, so I do
Our
apologise about that.
cynical culture are known alcoholics, so it doesn't surprise me. But thank you, guys.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to reply to them right now.
Go
I'm
on.
gonna say,
oh,
thank you.
you're watching the whole process
for
go back
being
down, guys.
The only one that agrees with me.
We got to double check that it is the only one.
It did. I checked. I just
Really?
watched
What
them all.
does this one say?
I love a good
Ah,
scary movie.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, there's the verdict. And our actual question on the story today is what we need to get up.
Yes.
So
do
we
need to get
did.
that up.
We posted another one on the story. So, because doing a this or that on the actual Instagram feed once a week isn't enough for us. We love a poll. We love a discussion. So we put on our story today, what costumes are better, sexy or scary at Halloween time?
At the moment, sexy is overruling by 56% of the votes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so 56% of people, 60% of
Oh,
people.
wow.
like
So we've obviously just had another vote.
Yeah.
So 60% of people are saying that they'd rather pick sexy over scary. I'm with scary and James is with sexy, which is surprising. And I think you can all agree because James is a very passionate person. So for him to turn around and know that an event like Halloween is a scary event and then pick something that isn't scary to wear for that event, that confuses me because he's normally going to... If I was to turn around and be like to James, oh, Halloween, let's get my sexy costume out, he'll be like, what? Sexy? It's Halloween. You should be scary. So for him to be on the other end of this is very interesting
I
to me.
just like the idea of you in a sexy costume on Halloween.
Yeah.
Is that so bad?
No, it's not bad. But the question was, what would you rather dress up as, sexy or scary? And you've decided that you would rather dress up as sexy. That was what the question.
Yes.
It wasn't, would you rather your significant other wear sexy or scary?
Oh, okay.
Was it?
What about a mix
Stupid
of...
boy.
What about a mix of... What about...
Gosh, we are going in today, aren't we?
I know, bloody hell. What about a mix of both, like a sexy witch?
Yeah, I think that's fine, but as long as it has to be some sort of element of scary. So this is why I'm like, we're wearing Squid Game costumes. Yeah, it's casual, but there's no really element of scary. Like, if I'm dressing up, I'm going to dress up properly.
Right, as I'm going to reiterate
Oh,
again.
my God.
it's
I
like
was scared of the first
episode scared
Okay,
me.
honey boo, but that's a personal thing. Whereas if you see someone who's dressed up as a ghost, you know that's stereotypically scary. But if you see someone who's just in a casual tracksuit from a TV show that probably most people weren't that scared watching, they're not going to think, oh, that's scary. They've just gone onto Amazon and done Amazon Prime for an outfit because they're going out last minute. That's what the people are going to think.
Right, it is the most popular
Oh, here he
costume
goes.
ordered
I
on
know.
Amazon, though,
But I'm
so-
just saying. Either we're going to turn up and loads of people are going to be in the costume, or we're going to turn up and people are going to be like, why the fuck are you wearing that?
People get to being like, that's pretty cool. I think
Okay.
we're going to get a lot of
Well,
meet people.
we will do a part 2 of our Halloween night out and tell you how it went down in our Squid Game costumes. And if you think that James is right, then leave a comment on our next Instagram. Leave a witch emoji if you think James is right. And leave a pumpkin emoji.
Why don't we just get them to say? Why don't they just comment? And
Or
say,
say,
James
but
is
I
right.
love that. I love that because people that haven't listened to the podcast, they're going to be like, why are people commenting witches and pumpkins on this Instagram?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then it'll be like, oh, someone will be like, oh, well, if you listen to the podcast, you'll know why. So leave a pumpkin for me and leave a witch for James because he's a witch. Thank you.
Okay, we're back. And going to tell you guys a spooky, scary story because it's Halloween time. So, I don't know if you guys believe in ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts, Sweet Tea?
Meh.
Okay, well, I do because
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
one.
I do in a way.
My dad had also seen one
I
as
don't
well.
think I've seen one though.
No,
So that's why I'm
okay.
a bit.
Well, I'll tell the story of when I saw a ghost, and I'll also tell the story of when my dad saw a ghost as well. So when I saw a ghost, I was working at a cinema in the south of England. We can just say now. I was working at the Bognor Picturedome Cinema. Right,
We
in the
should
south of
keep trying to
England.
not tell people where it was, but yeah.
Cat's out of the bag now. Meth's out of the bag now.
I remember we did a recording with someone and they completely let loose where it was that we used to work, and we just edited it out because we're just like, we can't have anybody knowing.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Elliot. Anyway, so I was working at a cinema in Bognor, just the Picturedome Cinema. It's a over 100-year-old building. Okay, so it's got a bit of history. Now, I think the history of the building is there was a guy that I don't think he died. I think there was someone there that committed suicide, I think.
Yeah, there was. He used to own it.
Yeah, and an old handyman. But anyway, I don't know if that's who I saw, but I was working with two other people, and there's a screen. At this time, the cinema only had two screens. There's a screen upstairs and there's a screen downstairs. And at the end of the shift, at about 11:30, sort of 12ish time, you need to lock up the doors upstairs and lock the doors downstairs. And the manager and another worker were upstairs locking the doors, and I was downstairs in screen one locking those doors, and there's no other staff or anyone else in the building. So we all have walkie-talkies for communication, and I was locking up the doors at the front of screen one, and I turn around and I see someone walking along the back of the cinema screen. And I radioed the manager and I said, guys, I thought you were locking up the doors downstairs. What are you doing? Doors upstairs. What are you doing downstairs? And they were like, we are upstairs. And so then I walked out into the foyer and they came down from upstairs. So I was like, what the hell? And I saw someone, clear as day, walking the back of the cinema screen.
Well, it's quite scary, isn't it?
Very strange, isn't
and like
it?
the fact that you actually radioed through proved that situation was obviously happening, because you wouldn't just radio through something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because when I first saw it, walking fairly quickly, so I couldn't tell who it was exactly, my first thing was annoyance. I was like, I want to get out, and they're bloody downstairs far-arsing around when we could be, they could be upstairs locking up.
You just go,
so, yeah.
what the hell, what you guys doing? And then they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
that just
upstairs.
fucking proves that you were in a that you thought like they were down there. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise you wouldn't have just radioed through for the sake of it.
Very weird, isn't it?
Very strange.
Very creepy. But other people have reported sightings like that in
there, yeah. Because I
cinema.
remember the manager said that the person who died, he had like a whole set, like in those movies where they have like a massive circle key ring with loads of keys on them. Jingling keys. So he used to walk around one of those for like every room in this cinema. Bearing in mind there actually wasn't that many rooms in the cinema at this current time, so I don't know why you would have that many keys, but you would hear him. There was tunnels that run underneath this cinema as well, and you would hear when someone would walk, chains would rattle. It was kind of like that. You would hear that every now and then. I never personally heard it, but they would always say that they heard it every now and then and stuff.
Another one that I saw someone say, which obviously isn't a thing now because they've completely torn apart Screen 2 because they're renovating, but apparently there was a seat in Screen 2 that would go up and down on its own.
Yeah, yes, there was,
Apparently someone sat watching the movies.
Yeah, I remember that because, oh my God, that's the thing. I didn't think, I thought it was a ghost at the time, but I remember I went in to clean it once on my own, and every other seat was up except from this one, and it was down. And I was like, oh, that's so strange that this. I just let Jeremy, oh, this is so strange that that seat has stayed down, and all the other ones have gone up. Like, oh my God, how funny! But then I remember, when I told my manager, oh, how funny is it? Yeah, no, that's like a ghost, and I was just like, what? The fuck?
The ghost of cinemas past.
Quite scary.
Yeah, I know. So my dad also had an experience with a ghost, we think anyway. So he was driving, and I can tell you what road he was driving because I could never remember it in my mind until I saw it the other day. Right. You know the road that you are driving if you are going to your workplace, the main road?
Oh my God, literally no one's going to know this on the podcast, but yeah, I do.
You'll know. So Dad was driving down there one day. He was driving from Bognor to Pagham. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, someone walked out in front of his car and then he hears a bang knock on the bonnet. And so he stops, he brakes, obviously really quickly, gets out of the car to help aid the person. They're not there. There's no one there, and there's no mark on his car. But he went straight into a person, bang, straight in front of the car.
Did he physically see the person or just hear the noise?
No, he physically saw a person in front of his car.
Crikey. That's crazy. That is actually crazy.
Very strange, isn't it?
It is. Don't like those type of stories.
Yeah. Well, I find them very interesting. But if you guys have any scary stories or interesting encounters, please tell us.
Yeah.
Message at the Court Case Podcast, because I find them very fascinating. I find them very interesting.
And when we do our part 2 about our Halloween night out, we can talk about them.
Maybe we'll see some scary people.
Maybe we'll see a couple of people dressed as ghosts.
There's got to be some low effort people.
There
just
has.
a sheet
Low
over
effort
their head.
people. Talk about that.
I spent money on this. Expensive money on these costumes.
Expensive
on these
money.
tracksuits.
You mean a lot of money? That grammar.
Yeah, I did spend a lot of money.
Yeah, well, expensive money made no sense.
Do you wanna host the rest of this?
Yeah, should I? I think I'm doing all right.
Right. Okay. We're gonna. You know what? I need to calm down.
You need to take a chill pill.
And then we're gonna get to. I found some on Reddit. I found some interesting
Unsolved murders, unsolved mysteries, creepy encounters.
I want to talk to you about. Yeah, there's also one particular one that I might get to that I found that I've always found really creepy, and I can't believe someone would do this to their own family member. And I find it very interesting, and I thought we might get to it in a bit. Happening right after this.
Whoop whoop.
If you like how this podcast was edited, and you're also looking to bring your podcast to a professional standard, allow me to help. My name's Elliot McKay. I'm a sound engineer and editor for podcasts. Get in touch with me via Insta at LELL_McKay MCKAY for all your podcast needs, including intro music to any genre you'd like. Cheers!
Hello guys, we're back.
Hello and welcome back to the Court Case Halloween special. What?
He acts like it's a TV show where they've just gone on break for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We've hardly had a pause. We wouldn't have had a pause because our new editing man, Elliot, if you're listening.
If he's doing this one.
Yeah, he probably is.
We might have an editor, Elliot, doing this one, which would be great and would help me out for a week while
but
I'm at work.
sure what I'm trying to say is that Elliot won't leave a pause, so you don't need to pretend that we just had an advert in between.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Okay, so I want to get into some
Real things.
that have happened in the world that I think are quite unnerving and interesting. And so I'm going to go through some with you now, and I want to see what your thoughts are.
Okay.
The first one that I want to talk about is about these twins called June and Jennifer Gibbons. Right? Do you want to hear
Jennifer?
June and Jennifer. Do you want to hear about the story of these two twins?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the twin sisters were inseparable and had speech impediments that made it difficult for people outside their immediate family to understand them. Do you get that?
Yep.
As a result, they mixed very little with other children and were ostracized at school, so no one at school really hung out with them. Right? This proved traumatic for the twins, eventually causing their school administrators to dismiss them early each day so that they might avoid bullying. Their language became even more idiosyncratic at this time. Soon it was unintelligible to others. So basically, they spoke amongst themselves. They could understand each other, but other people couldn't understand
people didn't get them, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The girls had a long agreement that if one died, the other must begin to speak and live a normal life. During their stay in the hospital, they began to believe that it was necessary for one twin to die, and after much discussion, Jennifer agreed to be the sacrifice.
Oh my gosh.
In March 1993, the twins were transferred from Broadmoor to the more open Caswell Clinic in Bridgend, Wales. On arrival, Jennifer could not be roused. She was taken to the hospital where she died soon after of acute myocarditis, a sudden inflammation of the heart. There was no evidence of drugs or poison in her system, and her death remains a mystery. On a visit a few days later, Wallace recounted that June was in a strange mood. She said, "I'm free at last, liberated, and at last Jennifer has given up her life for me." So,
fucking hell.
you've got these twins that no one could understand. They could only understand each other.
Yeah.
One of them...
What, like language-wise, like when they spoke?
Yeah, so
Right.
no one could understand what they were saying, but they could understand each other.
Right.
And they both decided that one of them had to die for some reason so the other could live a normal life. And so the other one just died. That's it. They decided one of them would die. They didn't have to poison. They didn't have to stab each other. Didn't have to do it. The other one went, okay, and just died of her own volition. How do you do that?
That's actually mad, isn't it?
It's mental.
That's
it's so
creepy.
strange. It is creepy. And I just don't get it. I don't get it.
No.
Now, my next one is one that I've known about for years, and like I've mentioned to my mum, and she was not really aware of it, and obviously you won't be aware of this, but I think it's one of these instances of those situations where you can't believe someone would do this to someone else.
Right,
One of
okay.
those, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are aware of the famous American family, the Kennedys.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy was a president of the United States. He was assassinated,
Mhm.
had that famous affair with Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, they're sort of a cursed family because not many of them live very long,
Yeah.
basically. Well, there was one Kennedy called Rosemary Kennedy, okay? And she was a girl of the family. She was born in 1918, and basically in 1941, when she was 23 years of age, some of her family members decided that she needed to get a lobotomy. Now, basically, a lobotomy is where they fiddle with your... it's illegal to do now. They can't do it anymore,
Right.
I don't think. But they fiddle with your brain if you seem to be showing some sort of mental problems. But the thing is, she wasn't displaying any mental problems. She came back from a trip abroad, and she'd just gotten a bit more rebellious and, like, didn't want to do what her family wanted her to do,
Right.
basically. And I'm going to explain what happened here.
My
So,
gosh, it already makes me feel so like.
when
scared.
Rosemary returned to the United States from the United Kingdom in 1940, she regressed. Someone later stated that Rosemary became increasingly irritable and difficult at the age of 22. Rosemary would often fly into violent rages in which she would hit and injure others during this period. Now, people don't know. Now, see, people don't know how violent they're talking. If they're hitting is just going, "Oh, leave me alone, child." They think it was exaggerated, right? After being expelled from a summer camp in Massachusetts and staying only a few months at a Philadelphia boarding school, Rosemary was sent to a convent school in Washington, D.C. Rosemary began sneaking out of the convent school at night. The nuns at the convent thought that Rosemary might be involved with sexual partners and that she could contract a sexually transmitted disease. Oh no. No, don't let her be sexually liberated at all. That would be terrible. Or become pregnant. Her occasionally erratic behaviour frustrated her parents. Her father was especially worried that Rosemary's behaviour would shame and embarrass the family and damage his and his children's political careers. When Rosemary was 23 years old, doctors told her father that a form of psychosurgery known as a lobotomy would help calm her mood swings and stop her occasional violent outbursts. So all they wanted to do was stop some mood swings and some occasional outbursts, right? And this is what they ended up
So there's
doing.
an actual thing. This is mad to me. So there's an actual thing where somebody can like get in your brain and like basically rewire you so you don't do things, right?
Well, it never normally works, which is what I'm
Oh,
going to
okay.
explain
I
what
was going to
happened
say
here.
how that's
Because
why I was asking, because that doesn't sound like something that would work.
her story is very tragic.
Right. Okay.
So Joseph Kennedy decided that Rosemary should have a lobotomy. So this is her father deciding this for her.
Right.
However, he did not inform his wife of this decision until after the procedure was completed.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, the procedure took place in November 1941. In Ronald Kessler's biography, they explain how the procedure carried out, and he described it as follows. After Rosemary was mildly sedated, we went through the top of the head.
Oh, makes
Dr.
me feel.
Ross recalled. I think she was awake. She had a mild tranquilizer.
Oh my God.
I made a surgical incision in the brain through the skull. It was near the front. It was on both sides. We just made a small incision, no more than an inch. The instrument Dr. Watts used looked like a butter knife. He swung it up and down to cut brain tissue. We put an instrument inside, he said. As Dr. Watts cut, Dr. Freeman asked Rosemary some questions. For example, he asked her to recite the Lord's Prayer or sing
Whilst he's doing that?
God Bless America.
Ah!
Yeah, or count backwards. We made an estimate on how far to cut based on how she responded. When Rosemary began to become incoherent, they stopped. So basically,
What the fuck?
Basically, they were cutting out brain tissue. So they were checking, and basically they ended up cutting out too much. And after the operation, Dr. Watts told Kessler that in his opinion, Rosemary had suffered not from mental retardation, but rather than just a form of depression. A review of all the papers written by the two doctors confirmed Dr. Watts' declaration.
But one, I'm not fucking surprised a lobotomy, or whatever it's called, isn't a thing anymore. That shouldn't have been a thing in the first place.
Yep.
That makes me feel physically sick that they were doing that while she was like awake.
Right, so Dr. Bertram S. Brown, director of the National Institute of Mental Health, who was previously an aide to President Kennedy, told Kessler that Joe Kennedy referred to his daughter Rosemary as mentally retarded rather than mentally ill in order to protect John's reputation for a presidential run, and that the family's lack of support for mental illness is part of a lifelong family denial of what was really so. It had quickly become apparent that the procedure had not been successful. Kennedy's mental capacity diminished to that of a 2-year-old child. She could not walk or speak intelligibly and was incontinent.
I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah, after the lobotomy, Rosemary was immediately institutionalized. She initially lived for several years at Craig House. In 1949, she was relocated to Jefferson, Wisconsin, where she lived for the rest of her life on the grounds of St. Colita School for Exceptional Children, which is formerly known as St. Colita Institute for Backwards Youth. So basically, they lobotomized her, they fucked it up, and they chucked her in a home for the rest of the days and never visited her. And this is the family of one of the presidents of the United States.
That is horrible.
It's
All
disgusting.
she did was go away, come back, and was just living her life.
Horribly sexist and horribly disgusting.
I didn't know that. That is a horrible, and that makes me feel really upset, actually.
And something also, which I was talking to my mum about the other day, something also similar happened. There was no lobotomy involved, but also there's secrets like that to do with the royal family. I don't know if I mentioned
you've told
that
me
to you
about that.
previously. There's these two cousins that, because of the slight inbreeding or something with the family line, that they were a bit I don't know if it was Down syndrome or something, but they have some sort of mental issues, and the royal family didn't want that to taint their name, so they have been, one of them only died fairly recently, but they were just put in a home, and the royal family never visited them.
It's not right, is it?
It's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. So, that's a bit... that's
Do you know what?
creepy and
I feel
scary.
like having people like that do have like a mental health problem or anything like that in the family would probably make them more relatable. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a normal thing that actually there's women and men like mum and dads that raise these kids that actually do have like these mental issues or like Down syndrome or something like that. So they do that, but then if they saw someone in the limelight, in the royal family that also had those issues, that would make them more relatable, and that person could, raise awareness and do speeches and make those kids that grow up, they can look up and be like, oh, well, you're that way, and look who's the Queen's cousin's that way as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what they're gaining from hiding that type of information from us, because now we found it out, it's making them less likable because they're hiding that. Do you know what I mean?
It's because of this thing about bloodlines and how it's got to be pure and amazing and whatever.
Yeah, it's fucked.
But I've got some other... Now, we're going to move on to something a bit still weird and creepy and interesting, but not as downright awful as that. But we're doing... I found some...
Creepiest unsolved crimes.
Right?
Right.
Here's a creepy one. So this guy said, I dated a guy... Oh, I think it's a girl. I dated a guy a while back whose father was a retired cop who had worked the Waterdown area near Burlington, Ontario. So if you live near Ontario, listen to this, it might creep you out. From what I remember, there were several break-ins over the course of a few months that all occurred in the middle of the night when the residents were home. Nothing was ever stolen, no one was ever harmed, and there were no signs of forced entry. The intruder would just stand beside the bed, sprinkle some baby powder over his feet to leave an outline, just to let them know he had been 3 feet away, watching them as they slept. They never caught the guy.
Jeez, that's creepy.
So he never nicked anything. He never harmed anyone. He just stood by the bed when they were sleeping, made sure they knew by putting baby powder on his feet, and then would just leave. And he did it in multiple homes, and no one ever caught him.
That's very, very
It's got to be some strange power trip where he just wants people to know that he can do that.
Yeah, that he can get away with something.
Really weird.
Like, he's not a horrible person because he's not doing anything bad, but he wants people to know that he's capable of doing something bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it?
There was another one called the Yogurt Shop Murders.
Right.
Firefighters are called to a blazing yogurt shop. After extinguishing the fire, they find the bodies of 4 teenage girls bound and sexually assaulted. 2 men were nearly convicted but were released as advances in DNA revealed the presence of a third man. The prosecution of the case has been paused until it's determined the identity and role of the third man. So it is unsolved, but it's still ongoing. The investigation.
Gosh.
Weird. So I've got some more stuff. I found a thread on scariest true stories you know, and we've got someone called Rare Beauty Etsy that said, I grew up in a funeral home. I helped out in the office. When I was about 15, we got a call from a man whose wife and infant baby had been murdered in cold blood.
Gosh.
There were very few clues. It made headlines. Cops set up surveillance at the viewing. It was heartbreaking as the mother was holding the baby in her arms. I was asked to take the flower cards and periodically get the husband and ask if he recognised the names. I then photocopied them and put them back. I did it because I was a kid. People knew me and I was unobtrusive. I talked to the husband quite a bit. He seemed devastated and shaken. The cops told me they had an eyewitness to someone leaving the house the day of the murder. The witness was a 3-year-old girl. She recognised the man leaving. It was the husband's best friend. Turns out that the friend and the husband had made a pact to kill each other's families and run off with their secretaries. The little girl identified the friend, and I guess one of them cracked. They both went to jail on multiple counts, all on the testimony of a 3-year-old. I still cannot believe to this day that the man stood right beside me multiple times and I had no clue. I don't think I've ever looked at life the same way. What deranged couple of men would make that sort of pact with each other?
What the fuck? And then to stand there and be distraught that she's dead when you've made a pact to make her dead. Maybe, and that go on that 3-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Go on,
maybe the husband said it as a joke and the other guy took it seriously. I don't know.
Maybe, but you don't. I guess people do make stupid jokes like that. I can imagine a guy would make a joke like that. Do you know what I mean? What
always surprises me about these things is like when you see, serial killer couples or the couple that did the bank heist with the pizza bomber in Evil Genius, amazing documentary on Netflix, is murderers are rare enough. How do you find someone in your life proximity that is up for doing something that disgusting like rape or murdering with you? Because I had always assumed if you were someone that wanted to murder someone, you would not go around
and telling people
and telling it to people.
And if somebody did, you would report them instantly.
Yeah. So what are the chances that the few people you do tell that you want to murder someone end up actually wanting to do it with you?
Yeah. Well, that's why that's why it's probably all manipulation, isn't it? I think in that situation you could possibly be onto something where one of them made a joke like, all we need is our families to die and then we can run off with the secretary, like as a joke because they fancy the secretary or whatever, and then the other one's manipulated him into doing it, and then now he's done it. The other one's like, fuck, he's actually killed my kid. And now they've ended up both going to prison for it. The other one's going to prison, which I didn't expect the other one to go to prison because he actually didn't commit anything. But if he's admitted to being a part of it, then he wouldn't he? So that 3-year-old girl, she's so young, she doesn't realise what she's done in like a good thing.
I hope she gets told about it
when she's older. By the way, you've put those men in prison. What?
We've got another scary one. My great aunt woke up in the middle of the night. She heard her dog making these low growls. She was single at the time and living alone in her ranch-style home. She walked out to her living room to check things out. She didn't see or hear anything out of the ordinary, so she decided to make sure her door and front windows were locked. Door was locked. First window she checked was locked. When she lifted the mini blind on the second window, it was wide open, and a guy in a ski mask was standing there.
Oh.
She said he laughed this evil laugh and said, "Party time." Then he started to climb in. She screamed that she had a gun. Her dog started barking his head off. The would-be rapist decided to bolt. My aunt did get a gun after that and learned how to use it. I can't even think about what would have happened to her if she didn't have her dog to warn her.
Holy fuck.
Imagine if she didn't have her dog making
growling
those noises.
Like, to be fair, like, Sayra's growled a couple of times, my dog, and it is scary when they start growling because you instantly know that they're scared and they're warning you of something, so it scares you like straight away.
Yeah.
But they're amazing dogs. They're so loyal. Like, you know, they are literally they're going to protect you. That's like, sorry, you... Who stands there with a ski mask on and laughs like hysterically? Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. It's mad to
poor
think that these
woman.
things happen. And here's one that you will know of that's on this thread, but I want to talk about it because I don't think we've mentioned it before, and it is something disgusting that is probably, well, I think, on a taint on the history of the UK.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, and that's James Bolger.
Oh my god.
And that's on here, and I don't know if you've heard the full story.
Oh yeah,
before.
I've heard, I studied the full story in school.
Really? They covered that in school?
Yeah, because I did
Christ.
philosophy and ethics,
Right.
which is obviously like, you know,
It's like why people do things.
yeah,
and-
basically it's like psychology, but also
Yeah.
in there is religion and everything like that. So it's a really interesting topic, and that was one of the things that we covered.
So, James Bolger was just 2 years old and with his mum running errands. She let go of his hand to pay the cashier and he wandered away. Two 10-year-old boys spotted him, lured him toward them, took him by the hands and led him away. They took him to a remote location, pushing and kicking at him the whole time. Some people questioned the two kids with the crying toddler, but they lied, saying he was their brother, and nobody intervened further. They took him to a secluded spot and tortured him. I don't want to recount the torture details, it's just too
It's
gruesome.
just vile. It's just
It's
absolutely
awful, the
vile.
stuff they did. Some of it involves battery acid, I'm going to say
It's-
now.
yeah.
They left his body on some railroad tracks, hoping that being run over by a train would make it look like an accident. He was found days later, his body severed in half by a train. The boys were caught and became the youngest convicted murderers in British history. Security footage from the day that he took James shows them watching children picking out a target, and they were just kids themselves. They were released at 18. One of them is back in jail for possessing child abuse photos on his computer. The most terrifying thing about this for me is that my own son is only 2 now, and James's murderers were just children too. It was premeditated and intentional and entirely random. Just a momentary lapse in attention, and he became a target of 2 murderous children. To think that children younger than my stepson are capable of such a thing, everything about this case is just horrifying.
So when I studied this, it's like it was shown that they obviously did a lot of video games together in their free time, and they were in such a like fucked mindset that what they thought they were doing to the kids, James, they thought it was like fake. They thought it was like
Really?
Yeah, they thought like they were playing a game. Do you know what I mean? Like they knew what they were doing, but like they didn't quite realise that it was wrong, if you get what I'm saying. But then the other one who came out to obviously offend, they both had changed identities, which I don't agree with changed identities.
No.
I understand why they get changed identities, but personally I couldn't think of anything worse than walking down the street and, you know, this person is now, he can't tell people of his past life, or anything like that, but he could be happily married with kids now, and he's the murderer of. Do you know what I mean?
One thing I don't understand is how comes Sarah Everard's killer is never leaving prison, yet John Venables got out at 18.
I know.
I think it's disgusting. And I have got an interesting personal thing about this particular case, is that I am one of the possibly few people in the UK where I know what he looks like now.
Really? How?
Because about 3 years
They
ago,
released that someone accidentally
someone
leaked.
leaked it, and I just happened to be on, I think it was Reddit at the time, and it was taken down.
Should you be releasing this type of information?
Yeah.
Can't somebody come after you and like swipe your memory?
But I was on Reddit within a few hours of it coming out, and I managed to see the photo, and it was taken down about an hour later.
Gosh.
And it's sort of ingrained.
Didn't the
in my
person
brain.
who like leaked it as well get in, like convicted or
but
something.
fucking he
Not
shouldn't
convicted,
do, should
but
he? It's bloody ridiculous. But I do not understand what must their upbringing have been like to think that
I
they
know.
could do that sort of thing.
it's actually like it sickens me to hear that case.
And I think the justice system in the UK is bloody ridiculous. These, the Sarah Everard guy that's
Yeah.
been in prison. I think the only reason he's in prison for life is because of the media coverage and the outrage. Because someone like
And
John
also, I
Venables,
think
he should be in prison for life.
I think also another reason he's in prison for life is because he was a police officer.
Yeah.
He's fucked it. He's pissed off the police officers. Like he's fucked his life. He can't get any other job after that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they've gone, you're in here forever now. Do you know what I mean? This is in their mind, he's probably going to have a better life in prison than out of prison because he's had so much media coverage. So they, in a way, they're probably protecting him as well by doing it in a weird kind of way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's actually terrifying the fact that like we have no idea where he is, what he looks like, what his name is, if he's married. Like,
I think he's the one that's back in prison for. I'm pretty sure from
the one that you saw is the one that's back in prison
for the child porn.
That's annoying because I want to. The other one is the one that's walking the streets, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's the one that's less. It was less of the instigator.
He was, yeah. He was like what I was talking about with manipulation. He was obviously manipulated into it by John Venables.
Because I think he does have a family. I think possibly.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Like
he would never tell her.
She would never know, and I just think that is awful. That is actually awful.
Can you imagine if you find out one day that you were married to one of the James Bulger killers?
I know.
And you never knew.
I know. And how could you live with yourself after doing that, then being in prison and then coming out, having a new identity, potentially meeting someone that you're really, really happy with, you've got kids with them, never having to say anything. Like, you need severe therapy for that.
The thing that shocks me, one of the things that shocks me the most about this case is like when you see the picture, it was in the papers everywhere when it happened, and obviously years afterwards, is the mugshot. Because they're so young. And it's like a mugshot of just these little 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids. It's mental to me.
Yeah. When I first saw the mugshots, like, I first did generally think, though, that John Venables looked evil.
Yeah.
Like, before I knew he reoffended, I was just like, he looks evil, even as a kid. And the other one looked like a little bit more of the innocent one. And that was the case as well. And obviously John reoffended. And is he still in prison now?
I think so. I'd have to look it up, but I think so.
And that's the thing. Like, people are more likely to reoffend when they've been in prison from a young age because obviously that's all they've known. And also his parents as well. So the person that's come out, I can't remember his name. So John Venables, I don't know what the other one's called. I can't remember. But he's come out and got a new identity and everything. But what about his like mum and dad and stuff? Is he still talking to them, or do they still? Do you know what I mean? Like, if he's had to have a whole new identity, he surely can't have any ties from his past life.
Robert Thompson,
yeah, that's it. Do you know what I mean, though? There won't be any ties from his past life, so he wouldn't probably even communicate with his mum and his dad now.
He shouldn't be able to communicate them.
The whole it makes me so mad.
It's ridiculous, but I think we're going to try and leave the episode. I've got one
on a nicer note, hopefully.
I've got one that's a bit. It's not like awful, it's sort of just weird and interesting.
Okay.
So my dad worked in a morgue during college in the 60s. One time on the night shift, he was training a recent hire who was wheeling a body down the hallway. The body was under a sheet, but all of a sudden started to sit up. The guy immediately freaked out, ran out the doors and quit. Apparently, a dead body can have muscle contractions in the abs, causing it to start sitting up. The more you know, I guess.
Yeah, so my mum used to work in a hospital and she told me about this. So whenever like someone would die, they would do a thing called their last breath or their last exit or something. And so they would either be sick or have a really, really deep breath like they're alive, like they just sighed. So the first time my mum ever experienced that, because no one really told her, she ran out as well, because obviously she was like, fuck, they're still alive. But no, it is a thing. So sitting up and something like that can happen for the same way, being sick or
weird,
sighing.
mad.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Creepy.
Really creepy.
But we hope you guys enjoyed some
weird, creepy, unsettling
stories and interesting things on the show today.
Yeah, if you did, guys.
Might have made you think. Might have made you scared.
Might have made you learn something as well.
Yeah. don't trust your family if they say you should get a lobotomy.
Oh.
Is a main takeaway from this episode.
Fucking hell. It's like all these stories have genuinely creeped me out.
Yeah.
I remember we did our first Halloween episode last year, and I don't think it was this creepy. We didn't have these types of stories.
No. One thing that I did want to say, though, which is quite a bit unrelated, is we are around the time of our pod anniversary, and I am doing lots of meetings and emails every day because I've got a really cool idea planned to celebrate, and something cool is happening.
It is.
So
but just before that does happen,
tuned.
it has been a year. We have been doing this for a year.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And we kind of touched upon it in our... Did we touch upon it on the blog?
A little bit.
A little bit on the blog, but we have posted recently, separately, our own personal statements of how the past 2 years has gone on our Instagram. So check that out if you want to hear how we feel about it all and everything like that.
Definitely. Stay tuned on our socials and on listening to our podcast for news on what the special court case 1 year extravaganza
the celebration
is going to be. It's going to be a bonanza, and it's going to be amazing.
It is indeed, guys.
I had a meeting about it just 3 days ago.
So precise. However, for you guys, it'd be like 8 days ago when you listen to this episode.
Oh, yeah, good point. Well, we hope you enjoy, guys. Have an amazing Halloween. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we are going to see you really soon.
Go and get drunk.
See you later.
Bye.